Hello and welcome to the Singer Schools Rugby Roundup on week 1 on ThePapare.com. It's been a long-awaited season and it's finally kicked off. We've had a break of one weekend, but the first weekend had everything that we could have asked for. Some superb wins, some superb tries, and some teams really putting their hands up. Let's look at segment 1A first. And in that segment, our first match is St. Joseph's versus St. Thomas's, the clash for the Lady Jayathilaka Shield. And if you look at the scores, you'll see there that St. Thomas's won that one pretty easily in the end, 32 points to 3 over St. Joseph's after leading 5-3 at halftime. Tries scored for St. Thomas's by Navin Henakan Kanamge with 2 tries, Mayon Jayawardena with 2 tries as well, and Christian Delil wrapping up a 5-try performance. Ashwanta Herat with 2 conversions and 1 penalty. And for the Joes, they drew first blood through Chatura Seniviratna, who scored 1 penalty. So that was the score at the end of it, Sabir.
Yes, Shanag, if you look at the halftime score, it's just 5 points to 3, and St. Thomas's took almost 39 minutes to score that first try. Even Jason Milder talking in the commentary box, former Josephian, they were not using the width of the field, isn't it, Shanak? And it took so long for them to, maybe the halftime message, it was clear, but then since then they dominated. But also in the first half, didn't St. Joseph do all the defensive work? Sometimes attacking is the best way of defense, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I don't think St. Joseph's really have the weapons to do that, Sabir, and that was the biggest problem because they didn't have a way to win the ball. Their lineouts were messy, their scrums were completely being dominated by St. Thomas's, and this is a big Thomian pack, 740 kilograms of brute force that they've got there. And St. Thomas's teams have traditionally been built on big forward packs. The early 90s, you take the 2000 team that won the championship as well, the team of 2009, all some big forwards, and you look at this team again of 2016, some big, skilled, fast forwards. So St. Joseph's really didn't have an answer. I thought they did amazingly well to hold out for 40 minutes without conceding a try almost, but that last gasp of the first half, they conceded a try, but I thought they were really good. If they missed a few more tackles, it would have been a 60-point score, but it wasn't.
It is indeed, and also it's nice to see how Hinakan Kanamge, the winner, is scoring, because we saw him at the Sevens finals. He was so good, scoring 2 tries on that game also, and also Mayun Fernando in the fullback position. They were so good. Like forwards are doing all the hard work, and then second half they get the backs to go and then scoring tries. Also talking about St. Joseph fly half, Chatura Seniratna, who came from Kingswood, Shanaka, but also his running game and decision making was not up to standard on that day.
Well, I think you can't blame him too much for that, Sabir, because nothing was going on in front of him. I think the forwards were getting so completely dominated and St. Thomas's were coming up very quickly in defense. He had no option but to kick. And if he wasn't kicking, I think St. Joseph's would have lost by a lot more. It was purely due to his good kicking form under severe pressure that they managed to clear their lines. So it was largely due to him that they managed to escape even with this 32-3 scoreline. But as you said, the Thomian back 3, very good, very potent, good under the high ball, and they like to run with the ball. So what impressed me most from this Thomian team is that it's a good all-round team. You can't pinpoint one weakness.
Yeah, of course. Also, Christian Delil was so outstanding, and also the forwards Pandula De Silva led the team well. But we didn't see the body language showed that St. Joseph's are not ready to take that game, isn't it?
Well, I think it was purely a case of first game nerves as well. For St. Joseph's, they're missing 11 of their first team players from last year, so a clearly inexperienced side. And in the first game, this sort of thing can happen, Sabir. So I think they also were under a little bit of pressure because they thought this Thomian game was the one that they could sneak an upset victory. So there was a lot going on, I think, and but St. Joseph's just a little too small to take on this Thomian side.
Yes, that's the first game that we had, and moving on to the second game on the same day, 18th of Friday, Trinity versus Wesley. Halftime score, it was 0-0 Shanaka, and full time Wesley Trinity somehow managed to win in the dying stages, 7 points to 5. As you can see on your screen, it's the try scorer Nathan Lee and Sanushka Bevikrama did the most wanted conversion, but for Wesley, who scored first, Avanta Hashan. But Wesley in the first half, they missed 2 kickable penalties, Shanaka.
Yeah, it was a big loss for them, missing those penalties under the posts almost, and that was a huge blow for the Wesleyites, who are coming through after a very promising season last year, a very young team, but nevertheless they would have expected to beat Trinity at Pallakale. They've never done that before, beating Trinity in Kandy. So this was their golden opportunity. But this is what the school's rugby season is always about. Sanush Kabe Vikrama coming in and converting a touchline conversion, Sabir. So outstanding game of rugby, but heartbreak for the Wesleyites.
Yeah, the score says how much intensity that game is, and although there was a sloppy play from few knock-ons in the first half, but it was so good, so mobile game, and so good defensive work by Wesley. And also when they scored, it was a pin drop silence at the entire Pallekali Stadium. And also, Shanaka, what is Jeevan Gunathilaka, the coach of Wesley, was telling us is they are coming as underdogs. They prefer that tag, but even I don't know whether you thought that Wesley will show that much of a good game in the first.
Well, I think Trinity are also partly to blame because I don't think they have been matching the same high standards that they've been showing in the last 4 or 5 years. So I think Trinity is fielding significantly their weakest team in the last decade or so. But that's not something to harp about because I think Wesley played really well. And when I saw them almost beat St. Thomas's last year, I knew this Wesley side was something special. And if they can keep this group together and just get a few things right, get a bit more experience going forward, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
All right, and the next game in segment 1A is between the defending champions Royal and DS Senanayaka. Again, you can see the key stats on your screen: 36 points to 10, 17-10 in the halftime. Mahima Gamge scored 2 tries. Hamza Riza, Nikila Gunadira, the captain, and Nikhil George and Johan Kanishka scored a try each. Also, Owen Haske scored a 3 conversion. For DS, Ashraf Muzmi scored 1 try and Ruchira Veerakon scored 1 try. Those are the point scorers, Shanaka, but 17-10 in the halftime. That's a good show in the first half.
It was a good showing, and also it's good to see that Royal are getting their tries from everywhere. You've seen the winger Mahima Gamage scoring a couple of tries, Owen Aski contributing to the conversions as well from fullback, and then you've got the forwards who have been dominating once again. Nikhil Gunadira is one who's able to lead from the front. He's got a lot of experience now, and it's a good score, especially in the first game, Sabir. 17 points to nil in the first half shows that they've been working on their defense as well. They're not conceding points. They're working on their discipline. And 36 in the first game is a good score.
It is indeed because Nikila, he didn't start, and some other players also didn't start. He came in the second half and he scored a try. He played as a prop last year, Shanaka, and this time around he's playing as a number 8 position. So positional changes also there, but you won't believe, Shanaka, there's not a single player in Royal forwards who's weighing more than 100 kg.
Well, I think that's part of the training regimen, Sabir, because I know that Sanath Martis is a guy who really likes to work his players hard, so he wants them to be mobile. So as a result of that, players who are too heavy are not part of his game plan. So that's something that he has worked on in the off-season, and these players are like this by choice. Let's not get anything mixed up there. They're like that by choice. He wants them to be able to be mobile. He wants to move them around the park. He wants to play a completely different game plan perhaps than he had with the players last year.
Yeah, it was so fascinating to watch that Royal didn't opt to kick a single territorial kick because they are building up faces and they're more like playing like a practice game, to be honest. So they just wanted that like 20 to 25 faces, which we didn't see from other teams.
Yeah, that's something that I think the other teams lacked a little bit. When we talk about the other front runners, we'll talk about that as well. But Royal, obviously knowing that this is going to be a long season, they know they have a few games coming up that will be tough games. So they're using this as preparation. They're putting themselves under pressure, and that's always a good thing, Sabir, because pressure with experience is what people learn from.
It is indeed. So those are the 3 games in the segment 1A of Singers Schools League 2016. And let's have a look at the points table, Shanaga.
Yes, let's look at the points table. And St. Thomas is sitting pretty at the top of that at the moment after their convincing win against St. Joseph's. 5.5 points they've scored. They scored 4 tries, so they get 5 tries, so they get their bonus as well. Royal scoring 6 tries, and they've got their bonus point as well, so 5.5 for them. Also, Trinity lucky to sneak that win, but 5 points there, and 1.5 points with the bonus point for Wesley coming in 4th place, DS Saranayaka and St. Joseph's in 5th and 6th respectively, and that's because St. Joseph's couldn't score a try and DS did actually manage to score a try in their game, Sabir. So it's going to be between those top 2, I think. Who will be there at the end of the season is probably more important than who is there now. So that's a roundup of what happened last week. Let's look at what's happening next week, Sabir.
Yes, sir. Wesley taking on Royal, Wesley hosting at CRNFC ground, and you can watch that live as well. And DSN and St. Thomas would be probably one-sided game for Thomians, and Trinity versus St. Joseph's. That's a very tough game. Both teams seeking a win. What's your prediction, Shanaka?
Well, it's going to be a tough one, and if Trinity don't get their act together, they're going to find it hard against the Josephian side, because I think St. Joseph's would have learnt a lot. They've had 2 more weeks preparation as well from the last one, and I think they would have worked on their lineouts and their scrums. Their set pieces really let them down. So I think they're going to come in with a much more improved performance this time, and look at them to sneak an upset over Trinity.
What about Wesley versus Royal?
Tough one. But I think in their home environment, Royal are going to be a little bit problematic. Sabi, they know that CR ground inside out, and I think they were keeping one eye on this game when they were playing against DS. So I think it might be a little bit a step too far for Wesley College, especially given the experience that Royal have. So that brings us to the end of the segment 1A review and the preview to next week's games. Don't forget, segment 1B is coming up in our next video.